Alright, so as I mentioned in the last video, there are three main causes of the reverse pivot. I'm going to go over these briefly with you right now. So the first one, as I mentioned in the last video, is trying to keep your head still. Now if I try to keep my head still in the backswing, often what's going to happen is instead of it staying still, my head's going to actually tilt back to the target. Here's the reason why. So your body is created with muscles. That's what allows your body to rotate in the backswing. These muscles are shortening, tightening, and rotating your body. So let's imagine we had a towel and we were going to wring this towel until it got really tight, just like muscles tightening up. What's going to happen to that towel is it's going to shorten. Same thing happens with your muscles. They want to shorten and contract and move these bones. So if I try to keep my head perfectly still, as these muscles tighten and they shorten, they're going to start to pull my spine or pull my upper body and bend my spine back toward the target. So in an effort to keep your head still, your head is actually moving a little bit toward the target. Now what we want to do is the second piece, that's make sure that we have the proper amount of axis tilt. That way when these muscles tighten, even though we're going to shorten these muscles and contract these muscles, our body's still going to maintain its tilt away from the target. So axis tilt, for those of you who are not familiar with this, is your axis is your spine. That's what our swing is going to rotate around. And we're going to tilt our spine away from the target at address. Now your right arm is a little longer than your right arm is lower than your left arm. Hopefully it's not longer, but it's lower than your left arm when you're making a golf swing. Because of this, your spine should be tilted away from the target. So if here's my spine, this is a great way to check this. This is straight up and down. I'm going to tilt my entire spine by bumping my hips forward and letting my upper body tilt back until this club hits the inside of my leg. Now we're going to go over this in much more detail in the axis tilt video, but I'm just giving you a brief overview of the main causes for a reverse pivot. So number one, trying to keep the head still. Number two, not enough axis tilt. And the final and third one is over rotation. This is one, I see it all the time. Everybody wants to hit the ball far. I agree with you. You should want to hit the ball with some good distance. We got to do it in the proper way though, and we got to get properly loaded as we swing to the top. Now, a lot of times, people's right leg will remain very loose. They won't load into the right leg correctly. And then to try to get really wound up and get some power, their upper body is over rotating. So if you look at this swing, I clearly have a reverse pivot here. My right leg is straightened. So if you look at from down the line, my right leg is straightened and my upper body is now leaning back to the target in an effort to get really, really loaded up. So if you're looking at my right arm, it's completely disappeared behind my body. Something I see all the time with people that are struggling with a reverse pivot. So those are the three main causes. Now let's go over the improper motions on a swing. I'm going to analyze it for you and show you how you can begin to pinpoint the area that you need some improvement on and get started on fixing it. All right, so we're going to do a little comparison here. I've created a reverse pivot for myself, and I've done the move improperly on the left. I'm going to do the move properly on the right and show you the differences. I'm going to draw some lines on here so that when you take your video at home, you can draw these exact same lines and analyze your swing just as I have here. Now before we get started, I will say two things. Well, number one, I had a really tough time hitting the ball properly on this one on the left. I created a big reverse pivot here, and I tell you what, it was harder than heck to hit this golf ball. The timing was tough. I think I shanked one, I hit one thin, incredibly difficult. So it's a testament to your athletic ability. If you're currently playing some respectable golf with a reverse pivot, it really says a lot about your athletic ability. You have the potential to become a great golfer. When I played a lot, I was a +4 handicap, and there is no way that I could break 80 doing this reverse pivot move and go out there and do it. I hit some thin, heavy, shanked them, everything. And on top of that, the second thing, my back hurt. I made 3 or 4 swings. It was tough for me to make these correct swings at the end because I kind of hurt my back a little bit just in the 4 or 5 swings I made doing a reverse pivot. So if your back's hurting, I would definitely recommend getting rid of this move once and for all. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's talk about the basic moves and the basic lines I want you to draw when measuring your reverse pivot and working on your reverse pivot. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about here is axis tilt. This is probably the most important piece for a reverse pivot. I would start with this. If you're doing everything else incorrectly, start with this, work on it. If it still doesn't work, then go on to new pieces. But most people will be cured with axis tilt. Now if you just look at my video on the left, it appears that I have some axis tilt until you start drawing lines. So most people will see that my shoulders are tilted and this looks like axis tilt. But let's draw a couple other lines on here to really test to see if I have any axis tilt. So here's the center of my left ankle, and here's the center of my right ankle. And what we'll notice here, these are two vertical lines. My left shoulder's popping through this line and my right shoulder's got some space on this line. And if we look at my spine, so here's the center of my neck, and I'm going to go down to where the center of my spine would be at the bottom. It's almost vertical. I probably have a little tiny bit of an angle there. So this is not nearly enough. So it appears at first glance that I have some axis tilt, but in reality, when we really look at it, I don't have much axis tilt at all. That's going to be a big problem. Now as we go on further in the swing, before I show you how to do this correctly, let's talk about how this affects consistency. So this is the biggest part of axis tilt. It's called your axis because we call it the axis because that's what you're rotating around. Your spine is one of your main axis in the golf swing. So as we go to the top, now let's look at my spine angle as I go to the top of my backswing here. There we go. Now top of my spine here, bottom of my spine here. So now my spine is tilted over toward the target at the top of my backswing. This is not going to work. Nobody can hit the ball from this position. As you go down, you're going to have to tilt the other way, and this is where all the inconsistency comes in. Now here's the top of my spine, here's the bottom of my spine. You can see these three lines are really moving around. So in my backswing I'm going toward the target, in my downswing I'm going away from the target, and just super inconsistent. Now this will also hurt your back. This is the reason we're talking about hurting your back. Sorry for the slow shutter speed. This club is not really bent. Some of these will be a little bit off just because of the way the shutter's working. I need a high-speed camera doing this. I started to get a little bit of a flip though. I can definitely see that face is in front of my, or the face is open here coming through the ball. So I started to flip and I hurt my back. Two things you definitely don't want to do. But as you're going in your downswing, let's go back and watch the top of the backswing again. So I'm leaning back toward the target, and then I aggressively lean away from the target in my downswing. And what happens is, as I'm coming through, it's putting all kinds of pressure on my lower back here. And the reason for this is because my hips are moving this way. They're moving down toward the target to try to get my weight back out in front. And my upper body's moving this way, and they're opposing each other. And right here in my lower back, it's crunching all the vertebrae and really putting a lot of strain on those. So definitely something we don't want to do. So let's go back and draw those lines again from a dress. We'll talk about axis tilt here. Okay, so here's my right ankle, left ankle, and axis tilt, or lack thereof. Now let's look in the correct posture at a dress. Here's my right ankle, my left ankle. So if anything, I'd like to see this where you can just barely see a little bit more right shoulder poking through this right line. And then we'll do my posture here, which if I take between my spine and my lower body, let's see if I get a little bit more here. Yeah, spine and lower. So you can see this is hitting the inside of my leg. So we talk about this in the axis tilt video. So after you watch this, you check yourself on camera, see if you have enough axis tilt. If you don't, this will be the time you go ahead and watch the axis tilt video so you can work and you know exactly how to do that. But one thing we mentioned in that video is that if this is your spine, it should be pointing right down to the inside of your leg, basically through the bag for all clubs, and you're going to be in pretty good posture. Now we can see once I've done this correctly, as I swing to the top, now my spine's going to stay pretty uniform and just rotate around this angle. So at the top of my backswing here, here's the top of my spine, here's the bottom of my spine, barely changed. My hips kind of came off a little bit off the line. Not perfect, this isn't a perfect swing, but overall pretty decent. As I come down to impact, coming through impact, you'll see it's fairly close. So your spine is not going to be moving around a ton if you do it correctly. It's going to increase axis tilt a little bit, but you're not going to be moving around nearly like you saw in this video on the right. I'm definitely not going to be crunching my spine like I saw in this video on the right, because now I'm just rotating around my spine. So let's go ahead now and we're going to talk about hip sway and how this can cause improper axis tilt and a reverse pivot. Now, if you draw a line from just the edge of your belt buckle and put it to the outside of your foot, this is your right hip line. This is covered in Weight Shift Part 2 right hip line video. After you watch this video, see if you're doing this correctly. If you're not, you're going to want to watch that video, and it's going to go over exactly what you need to do. But in the incorrect video, you'll see here in the beginning, watch how my hip, see how it bumps through that line? Now my hips shifted over to the right a little bit, so my hips are going this way. Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed the first half of this premium video. If you'd like to see the second half of this video, go ahead and click the link right over here in the bottom right. This is going to take you to your free membership sign up area. Now, it's absolutely free of charge, and if you click this particular link, you'll be able to see the rest of this premium video absolutely free of charge. If you're watching on a mobile device, you're going to need to scroll down to the description, click on the link in the description. It's going to do the exact same thing. So you'll be able to see this premium video if you're a first time signing up, and you're also going to receive about 2.5 hours of premium instruction. If you want to see all the videos that I mentioned in this, you will need to sign up for a premium membership. But you get tons of great information with that free membership. I highly recommend give the free membership a try. What's the worst thing that can happen? You get some free videos. All you need to do is click in this box again in the bottom right hand side. It's going to take you to see this premium video, and I promise you, you will not be disappointed. You'll really like a lot of the information that we have. So good luck with your golf game. Good luck with your reverse pivot. I know you guys can do great and really improve your game this year. Now it's time to take action. Don't let another year pass and still be frustrated with your golf game. This is your year to beat all of your friends. Go to the description below and click the link to sign up for your free membership. It will never cost you a dime, and you'll receive over 2.5 hours of detailed, eye-opening video lessons. Plus, you will be able to see the remainder of this video only available if you click the link on this particular video. Be the first of your friends to join our 40,000 plus free members. We look forward to having you on our team.